The Thursday night family dinner at my parents' apartment had become a monthly ritual I'd grown to dread. Not because of the food. Mom always made excellent lasagna. But because these gatherings had evolved into what my brother Marcus called intervention sessions about my life choices. "Sarah, we need to talk about your living situation," Mom began, setting down her wine glass with that particular expression she reserved for disappointing news. "Your father and I have been discussing it and we're concerned." I cut another piece of lasagna, keeping my expression neutral. "My living situation is fine, Mom." "Fine." Marcus leaned back in his chair, his expensive suit jacket hanging perfectly on the chair behind him. At 32 he'd made junior partner at his law firm and never let anyone forget it. "You're 30 years old and living in some studio apartment in God knows where. That's not fine, that's failure." His wife Jennifer nodded sympathetically, her diamond bracelet catching the light. "We just want what's best for you, Sarah. Marcus and I live in this beautiful building, your parents live here too. It's a community of successful people. This building has standards," Dad added, gesturing around their spacious 3-bedroom apartment. "The board vets everyone carefully. They maintain a certain caliber of resident." I took a sip of water. "I'm aware. Are you though?" Marcus pressed. "Because every time we invite you to look at available units here, you make excuses. Do you even know what the rent is in this building?" "I have an idea." Jennifer touched Marcus's arm gently. "Maybe she just needs time to get her career on track. Not everyone can afford luxury living right away." The condescension in her voice was thick enough to cut. I'd met Jennifer twice before she and Marcus got engaged. She'd been working retail then, perfectly pleasant. 6 months of dating my brother had transformed her into someone who said things like, luxury living, unironically. "My career is on track," I said quietly. "Really?" Marcus pulled out his phone. "Because I looked up that company you work for. Some vague, property management consultant position. What does that even mean? Are you showing apartments? Taking calls about broken toilets?" "I manage various properties and handle client relations." Dad sighed heavily. "Sarah, there's no shame in struggling. Your mother and I didn't build our success overnight. But you need to be realistic about your limitations." "My limitations?" "Your income bracket," Mom clarified as if that was somehow better. "This building requires proof of income at least 3 times the monthly rent. The cheapest 1-bedroom here is $4,000 a month. Can you honestly tell us you're making $12,000 a month in your little consulting job?" I set down my fork carefully. "I do all right." "All right isn't enough for this building," Marcus said. "Look, I'm not trying to be harsh, I'm trying to help. Jennifer and I have been talking, and we have a friend who manages a perfectly decent apartment complex in the suburbs. Much more affordable. I could make a call." "The suburbs are wonderful," Jennifer added brightly. "Very family-oriented. Lower cost of living. I'm happy where I am." "But where is that exactly?" Mom asked. "You never invite us over. You never tell us your address. Are you embarrassed? Because if you're in some rundown neighborhood..." "I'm not embarrassed, Mom." "Then where do you live?" Dad demanded. Before I could answer, Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smiled. "That's the building manager. I asked him to send over some listings for smaller units in less prestigious buildings in the area. Thought you might want options." He turned his phone to show me a series of apartment listings, all in buildings that looked like they'd seen better days 30 years ago. "See? These are more realistic for your situation. Still in the city but manageable rent. 1,500, maybe 2,000 tops. This one even allows cats." Jennifer pointed at the screen enthusiastically. "Do you have a cat? You seem like a cat person." "I don't have a cat." "Well, it's good to have options," Mom said. "Really, Sarah, we're trying to help. This building, where we all live, it's just not realistic for someone in your position." "My position?" "Your income level," Dad clarified. "The board here is very strict. They've rejected doctors, lawyers, successful business owners. They turned down a hospital administrator last month because his income was just slightly below their requirements. They run credit checks, employment verification, the works." Marcus leaned forward. "I'm on the board now actually. Just got appointed last month. And I've seen the rejection rate. It's brutal. People with 6-figure incomes get turned away. They check everything. Your banking statements, your employment history, references from previous landlords. They don't mess around. The building maintains its reputation through very selective acceptance, Jennifer added as if reciting from a brochure. When we applied, they requested 3 years of tax returns. My point is, Marcus continued, even if you wanted to apply here, even if you could somehow scrape together the deposit and first month's rent, the board would never approve you. It's not personal, it's just facts. I checked my phone. A text message from my property manager, Robert, flashed on the screen. Lease renewal applications are piling up. Need your approval on several. Call when you can. Are we boring you? Dad's voice was sharp. No, sorry. Work message. Work, Marcus scoffed. Sarah, can I be brutally honest? This whole mysterious consulting thing, this refusal to discuss your finances, your living situation, it screams failure. Successful people don't hide their success. They live in buildings like this. They drive nice cars. They don't show up to family dinners in Target clothes. I looked down at my jeans and simple sweater. These are comfortable. They're cheap, Jennifer said, her voice dripping with false kindness. Which is fine. Not everyone can afford designer brands. But it tells a story about where you are in life. Where am I in life, Jennifer? She glanced at Marcus before continuing. Struggling. Behind. And that's okay. Everyone struggles at some point. Marcus struggled when he was studying for the bar exam. I struggled when I was working retail. But we got through it, and now look at us. Now look at you, I repeated. In a building that represents success, Marcus said firmly. This isn't just about square footage and amenities, Sarah. It's about what your address says about you. When I tell clients I live in the Meridian Tower, they respect that. They know I've made it. The Meridian Tower does have an excellent reputation, I acknowledged. Exactly. Mom brightened. That's why we want you to aim for something better. Maybe not here, obviously, but something that shows you're moving up in the world. These apartments Marcus found, they're stepping stones. You live there for a few years, you save money, you build up your career, and then maybe, in 5 or 10 years you could afford a building like this. Dad raised his glass. We're not trying to put you down, princess. We're trying to motivate you. Light a fire under you. You're 30 years old. It's time to get serious about your future. I am serious about my future. Then prove it, Marcus challenged. Tell us your actual income. Show us you're not just scraping by in some dump somewhere. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Robert. Also, the Johnsons in 4B want to renew but requested the option to break lease early due to job transfer possibility. Your call. Your work friends can wait, Dad said irritably. It's my property manager. Your property manager? Jennifer's eyebrows rose. Oh, so you do rent from a management company? See, those corporate apartment complexes can be nice too. Very convenient. Very affordable, Marcus added with a smirk. Mom patted my hand. Honey, there's no shame in renting from a big company. Not everyone can afford buildings with private ownership. Speaking of which, Dad said, the owners of this building just reinvested in the lobby renovation. Have you seen it? Beautiful Italian marble. Cost over $200,000. The owners here really care about maintaining value, Marcus said. That's what separates luxury buildings from regular apartments. The owners have standards. I took another sip of water. Sarah, are you even listening? Mom's voice rose slightly. We're trying to have a serious conversation about your future and you're playing on your phone. I'm listening. Then respond. Dad's patience was wearing thin. Tell us you understand that you need to make changes. Tell us you'll look at those apartment listings Marcus found. Tell us you're ready to stop being the family disappointment. The family disappointment. That came out wrong, Mom said quickly. What your father means is. I know what he means. Marcus stood up, walking to the window that overlooked the city. Look at this view. 23rd floor. You can see everything. The park, the skyline, the river. This is what success looks like, Sarah. Not whatever studio apartment you're hiding in. I'm not hiding. Then where do you live? Jennifer asked again. It's a simple question. Before I could answer, Marcus's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and smiled. It's Richard, the building manager. Probably about those listings. He answered on speaker. Richard, did you send over those apartment options for my sister? Marcus, hi. Richard's voice sounded strained. I did send those over, but that's not why I'm calling. We need to discuss your lease renewal. My lease renewal? It's not up for another 4 months. I'm aware. But we've had some complications arise. Dad frowned. Complications? What kind of complications? I really should discuss this privately. We're all family here, Marcus said confidently. What's the issue? There was a long pause. The building owner has requested a meeting with you regarding your continued tenancy. The room went silent. The owner. Mom's voice was uncertain. We've been here for 3 years. Why would the owner want to meet with us? And with me. Marcus added. I'm on the board. I've been a model tenant. It's not about your behavior as a tenant, Richard said carefully. It's about other matters. The owner specifically requested this meeting happen tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. in my office. This is ridiculous, Dad snapped. We've never even met the owner. The building is managed through your company. What could the owner possibly want with us? I'm not at liberty to discuss the details over the phone. Marcus's confidence faltered slightly. Richard, we're friends. You approved my board appointment. What's going on? I'll see you tomorrow at 9, Richard said firmly and ended the call. The silence that followed was thick with confusion. That was strange, Jennifer said finally. Very strange, Mom agreed, looking at Dad with concern. Do you think there's a problem with the building? Some kind of financial issue? The building is extremely well managed, Marcus said, but his voice lacked its usual certainty. I'm on the board. I would know if there were problems. Unless they're keeping things from the board, Dad suggested. My phone buzzed again. A call this time from Robert. I stood up. Excuse me, I need to take this. Sarah, we're in the middle of a family crisis. Mom started. I'll just be a minute. I stepped out onto the balcony and answered. Robert, hi. Sorry to bother you during family dinner, but we have a situation that needs your immediate attention. What situation? Your family's lease renewals. Your brother just called me asking about apartment listings for you, and now there's this meeting request for tomorrow. I think we need to discuss how you want to handle this. Handle what exactly? The fact that they don't know you own the building. I looked back through the glass doors at my family, gathered around the table, their faces etched with worry about their mysterious meeting tomorrow. I'll handle it, I said quietly. Are you sure? Because this could get complicated. Your brother is on the tenant board. Your parents have been here for 3 years. If they find out you've been their landlord this entire time, they're about to find out tomorrow at 9 a.m. Do you want me to prepare anything? Documents? Lease terms? Just have their files ready. All of them. Payment histories, board meeting notes, complaints filed, everything. You're sure about this? I watched Marcus pace by the window, his phone pressed to his ear, probably calling other board members to find out what was happening. Mom clutched Dad's hand, her face pale. Jennifer typed frantically on her phone, likely Googling tenant rights. I'm sure. Hey, I'll have everything ready. Sarah? Yes. For what it's worth, they should have treated you better. I ended the call and stepped back inside. Everything okay? Mom asked, her voice strained with worry about her own situation. Fine. Just work stuff. Work stuff, Marcus repeated absently, still staring at his phone. Sarah, you wouldn't happen to know anything about building management practices, would you? With your consulting job. I know a few things. Do owners usually call sudden meetings with tenants? Is that normal? Depends on the situation. What situation would require that? Dad demanded. We pay our rent on time. We follow all the building rules. We're ideal tenants. Are you, though? The question hung in the air. What's that supposed to mean? Marcus's defensive tone was back. Nothing. Just wondering if the owner might see things differently. How would you know what the owner sees? Jennifer asked. I gathered my purse. I should go. You're leaving. Mom stood up quickly. But we haven't finished discussing your living situation. I think we've discussed it enough for tonight. Sarah, wait. Dad's voice stopped me at the door. This meeting tomorrow, it has us worried. All of us. You said you know about property management. Is there anything we should be concerned about? I looked at each of them. Dad with his superiority complex, Mom with her constant disappointment, Marcus with his condescending success metrics, Jennifer with her borrowed arrogance. I think you should go to the meeting and find out. That's not helpful, Marcus snapped. We're family. If you know something. I know you have a meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I suggest you don't be late. I left them standing there, confused and worried, and took the elevator down to the lobby with its brand new Italian marble that I'd approved last year. The renovation had actually cost $240,000, not $200,000, but Dad had never been good with details. My phone rang as I crossed the lobby. Robert again. Change of plans, he said. Your brother just called me back demanding to know what the meeting is about. He's threatening to contact the owner directly. Let him try. He asked for the owner's contact information. And what did you tell him? That all owner communications go through me. But Sarah, he's getting aggressive. He mentioned being on the board, having connections possibly involving lawyers. Marcus always mentions lawyers. It's his security blanket. Should I tell him the owner will address all his questions tomorrow? Tell him the owner looks forward to meeting the entire family at 9 a.m. sharp. All of them. Your parents too. All of them. This is going to be intense. Robert, they spent 2 hours tonight telling me I'm too poor to live in the building I own. Intense is relative. He laughed. Fair point. I'll have the conference room set up. Do you want me there for the meeting? Definitely. And bring their complete files. I want every late payment, every noise complaint they've filed against neighbors, every time Marcus has used his board position to threaten other tenants. He's done that. 3 times that I know of. It's all documented. You really have been paying attention. I've been paying attention for 2 years, Robert. Tomorrow they finally get to see what I've been seeing. I ended the call and walked to my car, a modest sedan that Marcus had once called embarrassing. It was actually a BMW, but I'd removed the badges because I preferred not to advertise. Just like I preferred not to advertise that I owned a $15 million luxury building in the heart of downtown. The drive to my apartment took 20 minutes. Not a studio despite my family's assumptions. A 3-bedroom penthouse on the opposite side of the city, in a building I'd purchased as my first investment property at 26. But they'd never asked for my address, never requested to visit, never shown enough interest in my life to discover the truth. That night I reviewed the files Robert had sent over. My family's lease history made for interesting reading. Marcus had filed 11 complaints in 2 years. Noise violations against neighbors, parking disputes, demands for special board privileges. He'd used his board position to try to override building policies 4 times, claiming special circumstances that always happened to benefit him personally. Mom and Dad had been late on rent 3 times, always with elaborate excuses. They'd also requested special accommodation for their annual 2-month vacation property in Florida, wanting to sublease their apartment during that time despite it being explicitly forbidden in their lease terms. Jennifer had tried to run an online boutique from their apartment, using the lobby for photo shoots without permission, until another tenant complained. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd spent the evening questioning my financial stability while living in a building they could barely afford, breaking rules they thought didn't apply to them, assuming their status as my family somehow elevated their importance. Tomorrow would be educational. I arrived at the building at 8:30 the next morning. Robert was already in the conference room, files spread across the table. They're here, he said. All 4 of them. They arrived at 8:45, demanded to be let up immediately. I made them wait in the lobby. How do they look? Nervous. Your brother keeps mentioning his law degree. Your father keeps asking if he needs his lawyer present. Your mother has called me 3 times asking what this is about. And Jennifer? Quiet. Worried. I think she's the only one who realizes this might be serious. Let's find out if she's right. I took my seat at the head of the conference table, directly in front of the floor-to-ceiling window that showcased the same city view Marcus had bragged about last night. Robert sat to my right, files at the ready. Send them up. 3 minutes later, my family entered the conference room. They stopped when they saw me. Sarah. Mom's confusion was evident. What are you doing here? Sitting in on the meeting. This is a private meeting with the owner, Marcus said sharply. You can't just. Please sit down. Robert gestured to the chairs across from me. They sat slowly, their eyes moving between Robert, me, and the files on the table. "Thank you for coming," Robert began. "I'm Robert Chin, property manager for the Meridian Tower. I've managed this building for the past 5 years, working directly with the owner on all tenant relations and building operations." "We know who you are," Dad interrupted. "We want to know why we're here. What does the owner want? And why is our daughter in this meeting?" "The owner requested her presence." "Why would the owner request Sarah's presence?" Jennifer asked quietly. Robert looked at me. I nodded. "Because I am the owner," I said calmly. The silence that followed was absolute. Marcus laughed. "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" "Sarah, this isn't funny," Mom said. "We're actually worried about our living situation and you're making jokes." "I'm not joking, Mom." Robert slid a document across the table. "Building deed transferred to Sarah Mitchell 2 years and 3 months ago. Purchase price, $14.7 million. Current assessed value, $18.2 million. Dad picked up the document with shaking hands. His face went pale as he read. "This is impossible," Marcus said, but his voice had lost its certainty. "Sarah doesn't have $15 million. She doesn't have $15,000. He's broke. She's a failure. She's your landlord," Robert interrupted. "Has been since she purchased the building in January 2 years ago. Every rent check you've written, every time you've filed a complaint, every board meeting you've attended as a tenant representative, she's been the owner receiving those reports." "But how?" Jennifer whispered. "How did I afford it?" I asked. "Or how did you not know?" "Both," Dad said hoarsely. "I started buying and selling properties when I was 23, I explained. Small investments at first. A duplex, then a fourplex, then a small apartment building. I was good at it. Very good. By the time I was 26, I owned 6 properties generating significant passive income. By 28, I'd expanded to commercial real estate. The Meridian Tower was my 15th acquisition." 15 properties? Mom's voice was faint. 17 now. I purchased 2 more buildings last year. Marcus shook his head violently. "No. This is impossible. We would have known. The board would have told me. The management company works for me," I said. "They report to me. The board is an advisory body that I allow to function because it's good for tenant relations. But ultimate authority rests with me." "You've been lying to us," Dad accused. "I've been living my life. You assumed I was poor because I don't wear designer clothes and drive a modest car. You never asked about my actual circumstances. You let us think you were struggling," Mom said. "You wanted to think I was struggling. It fit your narrative better." Robert cleared his throat. "Which brings us to the purpose of today's meeting. Sarah has some concerns about your continued tenancy." All 4 of them snapped to attention. "Our tenancy?" Marcus's voice rose. "You can't evict us. We have lease agreements. We have rights. You have lease agreements that expire in 4 months for you and 6 months for your parents," Robert confirmed. "Sarah needs to decide whether to renew those leases." "Of course you'll renew them," Dad said, but he didn't sound confident. "We're family." "Are we?" I asked quietly. The question hung in the air like smoke. "What's that supposed to mean?" Mom demanded. I nodded to Robert, who began pulling documents from the files. "Marcus, you've filed 11 complaints in 2 years. 6 of them were against the family in 4B, the Johnsons. Can you tell me why?" "They're noisy." "Are they?" "Because the Johnsons filed a complaint against you last month claiming you bang on their ceiling with a broom handle if you hear their children walking around after 8 p.m. The children are 6 and 8 years old." Marcus's jaw tightened. "This building has quiet hours. Starting at 10 p.m., I corrected. "You've also used your position on the tenant board to threaten them with eviction 3 times. That's harassment, Marcus. I could evict you for that alone." "You wouldn't." "Wouldn't I?" Robert slid another document across the table. "Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, your lease specifically prohibits subleasing. You've attempted to sublet your apartment every summer for the past 2 years while you're in Florida." "Those were just inquiries," Dad said quickly. "We never actually." "You posted your apartment on vacation rental websites. Twice. We have screenshots. That's a lease violation." Mom's hands twisted in her lap. We didn't know that was against the rules. It's in Section 8 of your lease agreement, which you signed. Jennifer, I said, turning to my sister-in-law. Running a business from a residential unit violates both your lease and city zoning laws. You turned the lobby into your personal photography studio 4 times before we shut it down. I didn't know. You knew. You were warned. You did it anyway. Sarah, please. Mom's voice cracked. We're your family. Surely this doesn't matter. These are minor issues. Minor issues? I met her gaze. Last night you told me I was too poor for this building. You suggested Section 8 housing. You called me a family disappointment. You spent 2 hours explaining why I wasn't good enough to live here. And the entire time you were living in my building, breaking my rules, assuming your family connection would protect you from consequences. We didn't know, Dad said desperately. You didn't ask. 2 years and none of you ever asked where I lived, what I actually did for work, whether I was happy or successful. You just assumed I was failing because that's what you wanted to believe. Marcus stood up abruptly. Fine. You own the building. Congratulations. You've made your point. Can we go now? Sit down. Something in my voice made him sit. We're not done discussing your lease renewals. You have to renew them, Jennifer said, tears in her eyes. We can't afford to move. The security deposits alone. Should have thought of that before spending last night mocking my Target clothes and suggesting I wasn't good enough for this building. Sarah, honey, we didn't mean it like that, Mom pleaded. We were just concerned about you. Trying to motivate you. By calling me a failure? By laughing about my job? By sending apartment listings for $1,500 studios to your landlord. The reality of that hit them visibly. Oh God, Jennifer whispered. The listings were for buildings I don't own, thankfully. But yes, Marcus did send his landlord apartment listings suggesting she couldn't afford her own building. Robert pulled out another document. Sarah has asked me to present you with several options moving forward. Options? Dad asked weakly. Option 1. Your leases are not renewed. You vacate your apartments within the required notice period as stated in your current lease agreements. No penalties but no renewals. Mom made a small sound of distress. Option 2. Your leases are renewed at current market rates. This building's rent is currently 15% below market value due to long-term tenant retention policies. New leases would reflect true market value, approximately $3,500 more per month for Marcus and Jennifer's 2-bedroom, and $4,200 more per month for your parents' 3-bedroom. That's insane, Marcus burst out. We can't afford that. Option 3, Robert continued calmly, is what Sarah is calling the family discount program. Your leases renew at current rates, no increase but with additional terms. What terms? Dad asked. I leaned forward. You attend weekly family dinners. Here, in my building, in my private penthouse apartment that you've never seen because you've never bothered to visit. You attend every time, no excuses. And we have honest conversations about respect, family dynamics, and the assumptions you've made about my life. That's manipulation, Marcus said. That's the offer. Take it or leave it. And if we choose option 1? Mom asked quietly. If we just move? Then you move. I'll provide excellent landlord references despite the lease violations. You'll find other apartments. We'll probably see each other at holidays, exchange polite conversation, and continue pretending we're a functional family while maintaining careful distance. Or, Robert added, you could accept option 3, pay the same rent you're paying now, and maybe actually get to know the daughter and sister you've been dismissing as a failure for the past decade. The room fell silent except for the sound of traffic from the street below. How long do we have to decide? Dad finally asked. The rest of today. I need answers by 5 p.m. That's not enough time. It's more than enough time to decide whether you want to know your daughter or not. I stood up, gathering my things. Robert will be available by phone if you have questions. The files in front of you detail all the lease violations we've documented. I suggest you read them carefully before making your decision. Sarah, wait. Mom stood too, her face streaked with tears. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. We treated you terribly. We made horrible assumptions. We were cruel. Please, can't we just talk about this at dinner next week? If you choose option 3. She nodded, unable to speak. Then I'll see you next week. Assuming you choose to stay. I walked to the door then paused. By the way, Marcus, you're no longer on the tenant board. I'm dissolving that position effective immediately. The board has become a way for certain tenants to leverage power they don't actually have. We'll be restructuring the entire system. You can't do that. I'm the owner. I can do whatever I want. I left them sitting there, facing the reality that their family disappointment was actually their landlord, their employer in a sense, and the person they'd underestimated for years. My phone rang as I reached the lobby. Robert. They're still in the conference room, he said. Your brother is pacing. Your father is reading the lease violations. Your mother is crying. Jennifer is just staring at the wall. Let me know what they decide. Sarah? For what it's worth, I think you handled that perfectly. Thanks, Robert. Also, the Johnsons in 4B heard what happened. They want to send you a fruit basket. I smiled. Tell them a thank you card is fine. I spent the rest of the day handling other properties, returning calls, reviewing investment opportunities. At 4:30 my phone rang. It's Robert. They've made their decision. And they chose option 3. All of them. They want to stay, want the family dinners, want to try to fix this. Did Marcus look like he was being held at gunpoint? Robert laughed. A little. But Jennifer was crying again, this time apologizing. Your mother kept saying she wants to know the real you. Your father asked if he could see your other properties sometime, said he might want to learn about real estate investment. He wants investment advice from his disappointing daughter? Seems like it. Should I draft the new lease agreements? Yes. Standard terms, current rates, with an addendum about the family dinner requirement. Make it official. Done. When's the first dinner? Next Sunday. 6 p.m. Tell them the dress code is casual. Target clothes are welcome. You're enjoying this. A little, I admitted. Is that wrong? After what they put you through last night? Not even a little bit. I ended the call and looked out at my city view from my penthouse, in my building, living my life that everyone had assumed was a failure. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Thank you for giving us another chance. We don't deserve it. Love you. Another from Dad. You've built something incredible. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it. Jennifer, I'm so sorry, Sarah. For everything. See you Sunday. And finally, Marcus, I was wrong. About everything. I'm sorry. Please let me make this right. I didn't respond immediately. They could wait. They'd made me wait for years to see my worth. They could wait a few hours to hear back from their landlord. Instead, I texted Robert. Add one more term to the lease addendum. Family dinners will rotate to include visits to my other properties. Time they see the full scope of what they missed. His response was immediate. You're going to show them all 17 properties? Eventually. Starting with the commercial building downtown. The one where Marcus's law firm rents office space. Wait. Marcus's firm. Rents from me. Has for 18 months. I'm their landlord there too. Does he know? He's about to find out at Sunday dinner. This is the gift that keeps on giving. Robert. Yes. Thank you for helping me handle this. I know it was complicated. Are you kidding? Best workday I've had in years. Same time next week for the follow-up. Same time next week. I set down my phone and smiled. Tomorrow they'd realize I own 17 properties. Next week they'd learn about the commercial real estate portfolio. Eventually, they'd discover that the family disappointment had built an empire while they were busy judging her Target clothes. But tonight I was just going to enjoy the silence of my penthouse, in my building, in my life that I'd built one property at a time while everyone assumed I was failing. Turned out the only thing I'd been failing at was caring what they thought. And I just stopped failing at that too.